4 years before the Common Era, in the royal capital of Re-Estize. This is the heart of the nation, yet everything beyond the main streets looks bleak. Dressed in a dull gray, where the stone bricks of the road are riddled with countless hairline cracks and eroded gaps, nearby houses only 1 or 2 stories. Tall carry an old European style, but the closer the young man drifts toward the center of the capital, the cleaner and more orderly the streets and homes become. Out here at the edges, the gray is honest, though the air is fresh. Still, the heavy atmosphere of everything around him points to one clear truth. He has ended up in another world entirely. The constant clang of weapons and armor clattering together trails after the adventurers walking right past him. Vendors shout about their wares from nearby shops, and signboards catch the sun in slanted glints. Luxurious carriages thread through the thick crowd with difficulty never stopping because everyone quickly yields to them. The crowd itself is a chaotic patchwork of heavily armored warriors, flowing mage robes, and brightly colored outfits all elbowing past one another. For the past few days, the capital has been flooded with travelers from every corner of the kingdom. While this lively energy lifts most spirits, one person feels completely different. He wears a cheap, worn-out long-sleeved shirt and dusty gray pants, blending in unnoticed. His current mood matches the grim color of his clothes. Beneath the confusion, a heavy wave of fear lies coiled inside his chest. The pure excitement around him belongs entirely to them. Just yesterday, he transmigrated directly into this world, and in just one day, he has figured out his exact situation. This is the world of Overlord, specifically the new world where the Great Tomb of Nazarick will eventually descend, which explains why he is currently in a massive panic. In the light novels he used to read, transmigrators arrive here after grinding and spending fortunes on the Yggdrasil game, and they bring powerful world items, divine class gear, and legendary classes. They drop in like literal gods, or simply walk into the Great Tomb to join up. But this guy, he was dropped here with no gear, no level, and 0 preparation. If he had landed with the overpowered gear of those main characters, he would not be panicking right now. The single thing offering him any comfort is the timing. There are still over 4 years before the Great Tomb of Nazarick descends. How is he so sure? Because of the royal competition, the Imperial Tournament. Gazef, the future strongest swordsman of the kingdom, wins this very tournament, earning himself the prestigious title of warrior captain. And today is the legendary duel between that future warrior captain, Gazef, and Brian. This massive match has drawn every adventurer and commoner in the kingdom to the capital, which is exactly why the streets are packed and incredibly lively. He was just an ordinary office worker before he arrived, but reading endless novels has its uses. At the very least, it lets him calm down quickly, hearing the names Gazef, Brian, and the tournament drift through the crowd. He confirmed both the world and the exact time period, year -4 of the new calendar. That is not the actual calendar, just a timeline he calculated, borrowed from content creators of his previous life, because in the Bone King storyline, the Great Tomb eventually rules the world, and a new calendar reckoning makes that math easier. As for understanding the language of this world, some strange law of language translation is active here, not just between different nations, but even between entirely different races. Everyone can understand each other. In Bone King's words, it is as if the entire world ate a translation. Conjunct, of course, understanding speech is one thing, but he clearly cannot read the script. The coarse cloth of his clothes itches his skin, but compared to his situation, that discomfort is negligible. He does not know why he came here. He was just lying on his rented bed, and in a daze he arrived. What a cliché way to transmigrate, he thinks to himself with a touch of self-mockery. He is an orphan who has always been alone, so even if he suddenly disappeared back home, no one would care. Fortunately, with so many adventurers and commoners flooding in for this peak duel between two Commoners, his gray pajama outfit is not unusually conspicuous next to the provocative or outright weird outfits some adventurers parade in, with this. Many races, faiths, and nations layered on top of each other, the dress code. Here is not particularly conservative. After assessing his situation and forcing himself to calm down, he went straight to a shop and sold the only valuable thing he actually brought over besides his worn-out clothes, a gold pendant from his neck, earning him 3 gold coins. That pendant cost him about 2 months of salary meant for an ex-girlfriend. They broke up before he could give it to her, so he kept wearing it. The currency runs 169 copper to 13 silver to 1 gold. Since it is not decimal, he must remind himself of that whenever he calculates. Above gold, there are platinum, gem, and mithril coins and beyond. 3 gold for 10 grams of gold is well above the metals actual worth, but the shop owner clearly was not paying just for gold. He was paying for the cloisonne craft, which in this world of backward crafting and magic-driven production, he can probably resell to some noble's daughter for dozens or hundreds of times that price. He knows that, but also knows his situation did not allow for haggling. After that, he spent 5 copper on a cheap set of clothes and 1 silver on a short sword, leaving him with 2 gold, 11 silver, and 3 copper. He spent another 5 copper on a few loaves of rye bread, still with over 4 years left. Peace of mind is a joke. He steps down hard on his left foot and curses silently, mouth twitching, because before transmigration his only hobbies were novels and anime. That means he has read every Overlord series story there is, meaning he understands exactly what 4 years means here. Nothing. Is there really any difference between 4 years and Nazarick descending tomorrow? Absolutely none. In the Re-Estize kingdom right in front of him, everyone, himself included, is destined to be ground into ruin. The future seems to offer only 2 paths: die in the aftermath of the war between the Sorcerer Kingdom and Re-Estize, if a one-sided slaughter even qualifies as a war, or get lucky and survive as a subject of the Sorcerer Kingdom. But he lifts his head to stare at the magnificent ancient royal city built on the distant hill, feeling his panic steadily climb. Can his identity as a can he hide? Absolutely not inside the Great Tomb. When he watched the anime from Nazarick's viewpoint, it was just a power fantasy, absolute, overwhelming force. But for the humans of this world, it is nothing but pure despair. To them, those monsters are literal living nightmares. He belongs to neither side, and his anxiety is constantly growing. What happens when they discover his identity as a transmigrator? Joining the Sorcerer Kingdom feels like a trap. That nation is just a tool for the Bone King's global rule. From Hammer to the Floor Guardians, they care only about one thing. That thing is Nazarick, and the Bone King is utterly ruthless. He will easily destroy anything that poses even a slight threat to them. Even if Tang Zong is harmless, being an outsider is dangerous. He would be wiped out instantly, and honestly, can we blame him for being terrified? And the worst part is being handed to Neuronist for torture. Before this, he was just an ordinary desk worker. Even simple physical pain would easily be way too much for him. The king would search his mind, leave him hollow, then kill him. Tang Zong slaps his own cheeks hard, desperately praying to wake up from this nightmare. But the harsh reality does not budge at all. Talk about absolute terrible luck. Slumping down against a shop wall, he lets out a heavy sigh. He is not tired. This body feels surprisingly energetic. His physical reserves easily eclipse his old out-of-shape desk self. Looking down at his arms, he can see the clearly defined muscle lines. This is definitely his body, but reverted back to 16 or 17 years old. He was 25 before crossing over, so this youth must be tied to his cheat. He narrows his eyes, and a private status panel immediately flashes. The interface is split into 2 sections, starting with attributes. Player Tang Zong, Karma neutral at 0, health and mana at 13, only 1%. Physical attack, defense, agility, and magic attack are all at 13. Magic defense is 12, resistance is 0, showing the second sheet. Overall level is 0, with no class and 0 experience. He has 0 skill points, a passive inventory, and no active skills. Focusing on his talent, it reveals player traits that are hidden. They cannot be observed or stolen, the text is sparse. But as the saying goes, the fewer the words, the bigger the deal. Being an experienced gamer, he can easily guess what this implies. This unique talent did not exist back in the original Yggdrasil game. Instead, it is a rare ability, unique to the humans of this world. Roughly 1 in 200 humans in this world are born with these traits. However, most of them are weak and completely useless in a fight. Think of it as a random passive skill given at birth. But this system allows him to level up and bypass human limits. Still, holding this cheat does nothing to lift his deep anxiety. This is a harsh reality, not a video game where he is safe. Even with the talent to reach level 100 before the Great Tomb arrives, he still wouldn't be a match for the Bone King and his crew. How can a basic level 100 player fight a Bone King loaded with divine gear and paid items? Talk about overpowered. And that skeleton is not the only level 100 powerhouse in the tomb. He knows it. He understands the raw terror of Nazarick far better than anyone else here. Knowing the massive gap, all his basic attributes are 13 points across the board. Even without a class, in pure numbers, he has already far surpassed an ordinary person of this world, looking at the screen, feeling the raw vigor of his new body. He knows those numbers are not just empty game values, they reflect the actual state of his form. He can even feel a strange energy flowing inside him, which must be mana. By this world's standards, he has the potential of a magic chanter. As for the percentages shown after each value, that is Yggdrasil's calculation method, if memory serves, the Bone King's total rating is 680% plus a question mark. That represents his mana, which has already completely shattered the limit. The novel notes that the average level 100 player has 1300 mana, while the Bone King has far more. The maximum limit, the power of a whale, he has specifically researched parts of Yggdrasil's settings. His guess is that excluding equipment, the average attribute values across all player races are actually identical, only equal upper limits keep things balanced, so in theory, every level up should add 13 to every attribute, meaning at level 100, each stat would land at 1300. In reality, the math is not that simple because every class grants completely different stats. Warrior classes raise health, physical attack, and physical defense, plus agility. Magic casters raise mana, magic attack, magic defense, and specials. On top of that, beyond humans, demi-human and heteromorphic races have unique racial classes. The Dragon Clan, the strongest race around, has 6 racial classes: hatchling, juvenile, young, adult, elder, and ancient dragon. That eats up 50 levels just to max racial stats, leaving 50 for jobs. The human race carries 0 racial classes. That is both a clear disadvantage and a huge advantage because it means all 100 levels go into job builds, letting humans keep pace and stand in the same league as demi-humans and heteromorphs at the cap. Even the Bone King has only pushed mana and special stats up to 100%. He tilts his head, scanning the nearby foot traffic. And once he is sure no one is watching, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a palm-sized piece of rye bread. Locals call it black bread, but it is actually dark brown. Aside from being hard and dry, the taste is not bad. 1 copper. Buys 2 pieces, meaning basic food here is pretty cheap. With his limited funds, he must save money. Hard choices for a survival game. This bread isn't actually in his pocket. He pulled it from his inventory item box, a spatial magic storage given to players. His old clothes and the gold coins he acquired are safely resting in there too. This spatial storage is massive, but it does have a set limit. Otherwise, the developers would never have created items like the Infinite Haversack, which despite its grand name also has a strict storage limit to prevent infinite hoarding. That bag acts as a backup when space runs thin. He shoves the bread into his mouth, biting down with a loud, crunchy chew, his cheeks completely bulging. Last night was a Staring at a single piece of bread, he feels genuinely hungry. This gnawing hunger is what finally hammers home the truth. Being a player is just his unique talent. This is a real world. He gets hungry, he gets tired, and he can die. Yggdrasil was nothing like a traditional game. The death penalty was brutal. Dying dropped you 5 levels on the spot, and if his level was too low, his account got deleted outright. To avoid such a devastating cost, he would have to find rare resurrection magic, or carried expensive cash shop items, resurrection staves, rings, and so on, but he has none of those. Worse, he suspects that even with his player talent, dying here will never resurrect him. This is a real other world, not game, and he cannot be careless while gnawing on the hard black bread. He slowly reaches down to rest his hand on the short sword at his waist. Without something like special item appraisal magic, he cannot pull up the detailed data, but even without that, he knows perfectly well this short sword is just an ordinary piece, no attribute bonuses whatsoever. He bought it not just for defense, but because he has already discovered that touching it activates a brand new class prompt. Contact with short sword. Obtained base class information. Warrior, do you wish to take this class? He holds the sword up, waiting for the prompt to fade. No, he answers silently, and the screen dissolves. This is not the first time this has happened either, since it triggered once when he bought the sword, and including today, he has refused it twice. Touching matching weapons for a short while triggers those specific class prompts. Inside the weapon shop, he handled every single piece of gear he could reach, under the angry glare of the shopkeeper, only to discover that touching a special shield unlocked a mid-tier class called Blackguard, which he could not actually take without the prerequisite Guardian class. Everything else only triggered Warrior, but finding that Blackguard class got him incredibly excited. It proved his unique trick can, in theory, unlock middle-tier classes if he finds the right special object. In this class system, levels are split into 3 tiers. Base classes cap at 15 levels, mid-tiers cap at 10 levels, and high-tier classes cap at 5. The total level cap is 100. Yggdrasil holds over 2,000 classes. It is a massive system, and unless players intentionally copy each other, identical builds almost never happen. The reason he has not chosen a class yet comes down to one thing: level 100 is the absolute limit, since each base class requires 15 levels. Facing the people of the Great Tomb with a pure warrior or pure caster build will not work. Either build is far too easily countered. To eliminate all glaring weaknesses, he needs at least 1 base warrior and 1 base caster class. Those 2 alone consume 30 levels, leaving only 70 for everything else. He must be extremely cautious. One bad choice and his margin for error completely vanishes. He cannot afford any mistakes. Chewing on the dry bread with a furrowed brow, he sits quietly and turns the problem over. He still does not have a clear basic class plan. Frankly, he simply does not dare commit. If the Great Tomb were not around and his enemies were only the locals of this world, he would not agonize so much. After all, the only real threats here are the Dragon Lords. By the way, there is a shortcut to level 100. Yggdrasil's class system does not require anyone to max out any individual class. Taking 100 different classes will instantly land a player at level 100. Of course, that level 100 will be paper-thin garbage. Ever since he learned what world he transmigrated into, he has been constantly chewing on how to narrow the gap between himself and Nazarick. If they ever end up as enemies, 2 answers come up. First, exploit techniques unique to this new world that do not exist in Yggdrasil. Martial skills, the Re-Estize National treasure razor edge, the origin ring, and so on. Second, he must take a special class. Special classes are far stronger than ordinary high tier classes, all carrying powerful unique skills or effects with strength that can even exceed super tier magic. Only by taking a special class does he feel he would even have the requirements to face a floor guardian one-on-one. Suddenly, footsteps tap out of the crowd and stop in front of him. A shadow blocks the harsh sunlight. The drop in heat is the first thing that snaps him out of his thoughts. He lifts his head, keeping his expression totally still. It is a young boy with short blonde hair and bangs that almost cover his eyes in something close to a bowl cut. He looks soft at first glance, not very old. His clothes are ordinary, but the cloth is of far better quality than the few copper rags he is wearing. The young man is briefly stunned, surprise flickering through his dark brown eyes. It is Ainz Ooal, the future genius alchemist, one of the few humans the Bone King later holds in genuine regard. His current face is slightly different from how the story opens, but the overall look is not far off, making him easy to recognize. The boy asks softly and a bit shyly if he is having some trouble, his tone perfectly sincere. Trouble? That question makes him pause, with half-eaten rye bread in his hand, hunched in a corner and radiating dejection. He roughly understands the picture. Damn it, he is being pitied. His mouth twitches, and he tells him flatly that he is not. Just then, a cold voice cuts in from behind them, asking what he is doing. A little old lady, barely a meter and a half tall, her pale hair wrapped in a green headscarf, walks over with an unimpressed expression. The blonde, bowl-cut kid, being called by name, finishes his confirmation. It really is Ainz Ooal. He glances at him again. He is a true talent, carrying dual variant classes, alchemist, genius, and pharmacist, class variants unique to this world that are also called innate talents. A genius tag lets a person learn more skills of that class, master certain skills above their normal level range, and amplifies the power of those skills. In just a few years, he will use local herbs to manufacture the legendary god's blood of this world, which is essentially Yggdrasil's low-tier red potion. There are plenty of those potions in the tomb, but no stockpile is infinite, and the fact that Ainz Ooal can produce them is the entire reason the Bone King later pays attention to him. Plus, get this, he carries the talent unrestricted item use, which lets him use any item, magic scrolls and weapons that do not match his class, race-locked items, even guild weapons that only guild players are normally allowed to use. He could equip and use a guild weapon as if it were ordinary gear. Taking a deep breath, he silently realizes this is what counts as a high-quality human in the new world. To a degree, he can even pose a threat to the Great Tomb, and Ainz Ooal turns toward the old woman within. He looks completely embarrassed as he calls her grandmother. She quickly snaps back that this is no place to be playing the Good Samaritan. During this Imperial Tournament, he should be busy buying and collecting medicinal herbs. Lizzie has her hands clasped behind her back, her wrinkled face full of impatience, her tone sharp and annoyed. Yes, grandmother, he murmurs, scratching at his short blonde hair sheepishly. Listening to this brief exchange, our main character finally understands why this grandmother and grandson pair, who should be in the border city of Yggdrasil, have shown up here in the royal capital. Don't be fooled by Ainz grandmother, looking like a completely unremarkable old lady. You probably barely remember her from the anime, but in reality, she is the most famous pharmacist in Yggdrasil and a genuine third-tier magic chanter. By rank, she is easily above level 15, which makes her a solid human powerhouse. At his current strength level, he absolutely cannot afford to offend her. Lizzie's gaze suddenly settles on him, first on the short sword at his waist, then across the slight muscle on his arms. "Let's go, Ainz," she says expressionlessly, withdrawing her gaze and turning to walk off with her hands behind her back. "Okay, grandmother," he answers quickly. He takes a step toward the street, then pauses, hesitates, and turns back to look at our hero. he guesses our main character is here to watch the match between Mr. Gaze and Mr. Brian, noting that those arena seats are very expensive. He insists our hero should take his water skin, since eating dry rye bread without soaking at first makes it way too easy to choke. As he speaks, he unties the water skin from his own waist and presses it into our main character's hands. This guy is a bit much, right? Our hero's jaw twitches, if he didn't already know his personality. Sudden kindness like this from a total stranger would have set off every alarm in his head. Growing up as an orphan, he has never been fond of random, inexplicable kindness. He starts to refuse, but Infrius has already shoved the water skin directly into his grip. The physical contact hits, and his expression shifts a fraction, not because of the pushiness, but because the exact moment their hands touch. His system's attribute panel flashes with brand new information. Buzz, contact with a special dual-based class holder, alchemist genius, apothecary genius. Common class acquisition conditions triggered. Successfully acquired the common class genius. Do you wish to take the class? Note, this is a common class and cannot provide any attribute bonuses. His arm trembles completely involuntarily, back in Yggdrasil. Combat classes split into base, middle tier, and high tier or special, with non-combat common classes sitting alongside them. Production classes like pharmacist, alchemist, blacksmith, farmer, and merchant, classes that do not directly help you in combat. In this new world, though, common classes also include things that never existed in the game at all, like slave, maid, noble, prince, king, and princess. Honestly, some of those are even more useless than production classes. Ones like prince and noble are purely innate, while slave is automatically acquired in the late stage of a hard life. This is the fundamental difference between the people of this new world and players. A player can actively choose whether to take a class, while a new world inhabitant automatically picks up random classes from life experience. Willing or not take the class, he tells himself without a moment of hesitation, the very person who just a moment ago was agonizing over whether to grab a warrior or caster base class. He has just thrown a skill point into a common class with zero combat utility, which means that right now in this very instant he is incredibly excited. Common classes offer no direct strength gains, sure, but that does not make every common class in this world trash, not like they were in the game. Class change was successful. Genius level 1, Genius common. This class can substitute for any base class or common class and can transform into the required class according to his needs. Note, due to the special nature of this class, leveling up will not increase base attributes, and after transformation it does not carry class traits. He reads it twice, suppressing his excitement. Is he doing okay? Enfira asks, looking at him, clutching his hand with a strange shift of emotion. He snaps back to reality, hurriedly lets go, takes the water skin properly and tells him sorry and thank you. The gratitude is genuine. He nods, doesn't notice anything off, and quickly walks away. Watching him go, he exhales deeply, eyes alight. Honestly, who could have expected such a massive stroke of luck? With genius, he no longer has to agonize over the basic class problem at all. The biggest headache in his character build has just gone way up. As far as he knows, only one other person in this world owns the genius class, Renner, the golden princess of Re-Estize. It would be more accurate to call her the evil eye princess. Her princess common class is itself transformed from genius common. That ultra-rare common class is somewhat wasted on the golden princess, or rather wasted in any new world human's hands. Only in a player's hands does genius unleash its full power. A sense of relief drops through him like a tightly wound string finally loosening. The despair he has been carrying eases noticeably, even though he has only taken a common class. His future is suddenly less dark. He has actually picked up another important piece of information, too, he thinks to himself, his eyes brightening. A player triggers common class conditions through contact With other talent holders, together with a weapon touch trigger, he now knows too. Solid acquisition methods, still, judging by the fact that he only got the common class genius and not alchemist or pharmacist, normal contact with other people probably does not trigger class acquisition. It was specifically because Ainz carries the dual genius trait of alchemist genius and apothecary genius. That the common class genius condition was triggered, he sits in the corner. Pondering it, suppressing his excitement, he pulls up the ability sheet. Again, talent player, overall rank 1, experience bar 0 out of 100 base. Class genius level 1, skill points 3, passive skill item box, active skill. None, taking genius bumped his overall rank from 0 to 1, and on top of that he has gained 3 skill points, his heart actually skips a beat, as expected. The player class is not exactly like a Yggdrasil player, in-game. Every level lets a player pick 3 skills from the relevant class skill list, and a normal level 100 player ends up holding around 300 skills, a monster. Like the Bone King who masters 718 skills is rare even in-game, mostly because of the special skill Dark Wisdom, which in theory lets him keep learning new magic forever. Only getting skill points without a skill list is a touch of bad news. In other words, he will have to obtain skills through. He stays calm, but his path forward has suddenly become much clearer. Crunch, he bites into the rye bread and quickly devours the loaf. He wolfs it down in 30 seconds, then coughs as his throat dries up. Dry bread is a real choking hazard. He grabs his black water skin. Freya gave it to him, so he tilts his head back for a long, satisfying drink. He would never trust a drink from anyone else. Standing up, he prepares to move. He hangs the water skin from his belt. There are too many watching eyes around. Stepping into the street, he lets the sea of people carry him along the road. They head toward the royal capital center. He might as well watch this peak duel. A small grin forms on his face. He is over 4 years before the big downfall. The timeline is tight, but he can easily spare one afternoon. Sharpening the axe never delays the woodcutting. Besides, Gazef and Brian are not at their peak. They are 4 years away from that, but they already sit above rank 20. That is the threshold for human powerhouses, and watching them will provide valuable info. Before acquiring the genius talent, he had zero interest in watching any spectacles. But now he has ideas for his class build, and this match is legendary. This duel between the future warrior captain and the legendary nail clipper is historic. It is something powerhouses from every single nation will discuss for years to come. Both Gazef and Brian were already famous genius tier figures long before today. If he remembers correctly, Brian also possesses a talent like warrior genius. The crowd is speculating wildly who is going to win. The intensity of the debate makes his eyes light up for one simple reason. While the crowd is clueless about the outcome, he already knows the winner. For a massive event like this, betting pools are bound to pop up. Even with low odds, he can make some easy money, which he desperately needs. He is desperately poor right now, needing coins for both food and lodging. With that in mind, he spots a young man in light leather armor. The guy looks like an adventurer, so he directly asks him about betting pools. Keeping his voice calm, he knows from past experience that this approach works best. In chaotic crowds, blunt questions get faster results than overly polite small talk. Politeness only breeds impatience. The youth turns around, surprised. He sizes him up from head to toe, and contempt fills his eyes. An outlander, he wears local clothes, but he stands out. He has a short sword on his left hip and a water skin on his right. But his face and short black hair are definitely not the kingdom's usual look. Yes, he admits calmly, he just arrived yesterday. The youth chuckles, fully expecting this. The adventurer waves him off. There are no betting pools. None. He is genuinely surprised. With this massive crowd, betting pools would print money. The adventurer explains it is because of Renner's incredible foresight, speaking with admiration. He asks him, even as an outlander, if he has heard of Renner. She is known as the Pearl of the Kingdom, possessing brilliant genius. He explains that when the Imperial Tournament began, Renner made a proposal. She proposed to His Majesty, the King, to ban all betting pools for this match. Since the match represents the national image, betting would only insult their prestige. More importantly, it would be a sign of disrespect toward the competitors. Powerhouses participating, he adds that although the proposal met opposition from the nobles, it was ultimately approved. He crosses his arms over his chest and starts gushing about Renner having both foresight and a gentle. He takes a step back with a blank face and slips away into the flow of the crowd. He roughly understands the situation. Renner, he thinks of the youth's infatuated state and has nothing to say. This golden princess's reputation among commoners is sky high, banning betting pools fine on the surface, but in reality it cannot actually be stopped. The nobles will just run them in the shadows, and ordinary people simply won't be able to participate, so his get-rich-quick plan is totally dead. Talk about bad luck. Gentle and merciful is insane way to describe this golden princess. He shakes his head. On the surface she looks gentle, kind, innocent, always thinking of country and people, possessing a golden character. In reality, she is a monster ordinary people simply cannot comprehend. Even albedo evaluates her as a heteromorphic. In spirit, she can be called the woman the Blood Emperor hates most, even the Queen of the Dragon Kingdom, that hundreds of years old dragon queen who likes to cosplay as a lowly, only ranked second on his hate list, Arwent Royal City, set deep within the royal capital, built on a hill with a wall of more than 20 huge circular towers connecting it, visible from far away. It completely separates the common people of the capital from royalty, and combined with the elevation of the hill, the entire royal city carries a status that transcends everyone else. On the west side, at the base of the hill, there is a huge arena, and the annual Imperial Tournament starts there. This contest is not just a mere event, it is also the Re-Estize kingdom showing off its massive military strength to outsiders. Following the noisy crowd, he walks into the arena with a touch of heartache and finds a seat on the very outermost ring. From here, he can only just make out the figures down on the central platform. For this seat, he paid 5 silver, truly a profitable business. He scans the dense rows of heads and sighs inwardly. Witnessing a historical event satisfies a certain curiosity, but had he known the price was this high, he wouldn't have bothered, and honestly, who can blame him? The warrior captain and the nail clipper haven't appeared yet, but several figures are pacing around the platform doing inspection work. To the north of the platform sits the only spot in the entire arena that is significantly higher than everywhere else, a tower-like viewing platform, clearly reserved for the kingdom's nobles and royals. Compared to the lively buzz everywhere else, this tower is unnaturally quiet, and that heavy quiet bleeds outward like cold water poured on hot oil. Even the surrounding chatter dies down by degrees. He tugs at the collar of his coarse linen and shrugs, watching it all calmly. The others may not understand the strange chill, but he does. At least in part, this level of competition is supposedly to find powerful warriors for the country and demonstrate national strength, but in reality, the Imperial Tournament has from the beginning been a stage for major nobles to show off their subordinates and flex their own military assets. All civilian participants are stepping stones for these noble masters. This whole thing connects back to the kingdom's strict noble system. Besides the eldest son, younger noble siblings are completely barred from inheriting, which instead leads to a separate, different noble status called a knight, which holds no land and is limited to a single generation. Still, second noble sons fight hard to get this rank. It is not just about the fancy social status either, because once knighted, the royal family pays an incredibly high salary, securing your life forever. It is a smart royal tactic, turning these leftover noble descendants into a loyal, pro-royal faction, the Grand Tournament was built exactly for this purpose, making it a pretty clever trap. Stellar noble kids who shine are awarded a knighthood title. But over the last few years, these proud noble competitors and their subordinates keep losing to simple commoner adventurers, infuriating the elite. And now Gazef and Brian, sweeping their way straight to the very top, have turned this entire tournament into a direct stage for a massive, legendary clash of commoners. He smiles, easily picturing how those arrogant noble masters' faces look right now. After Gazef wins, he is supposed to receive knighthood, but they will create the warrior captain title instead. Specifically for him, no noble wants another commoner holding a knightly title. This legendary clash becomes famous because right after this match, the entire Imperial Tournament gets cancelled forever. None of this matters to him. Compared to the future tomb, these are just minor distractions. No matter how mad the nobles get, this fight cannot be stopped. 10 minutes fly by. His expression sharpens as he locks onto the two warriors stepping up to the platform. The future warrior captain himself and the legendary nail clipper walk out at the exact same time. They shake hands, seeming to mumble a few words, but from his distant seat in the arena, he only sees their silhouettes. The conversation is too far for him to hear. Soon they separate, pull away to a set distance, and stand face to face. The loud crowd falls dead silent in an instant, every single eye locked directly on them. No one dares disrupt this duel. Suddenly, both of them explode forward at once, closing the 20-meter gap in a flash. Charging forward, they slam hard into each other. Steel clashes against steel as their weapons collide in a bright shower of sparks. Moving so fast his eyes bulge, he can barely track their incredibly fast movements and cannot follow the spinning blades at all, only the bright sparks erupting around them. He tilts his head back. These guys are simply built entirely different. The raw, heavy power of their collisions is something no screen could ever convey. Only seeing this fight in person truly highlights the massive, impassable chasm between normal folk and these absolute beasts, and they are only level 20. He suddenly feels the heavy shadow of despair Brian will face against the powerful vampire Shaltir. That legendary nickname is not an insult after all. Suddenly, a pale blue magic light glow flickers across Brian's body, and in a flash he appears right behind Gazef. Almost like teleporting, Gazef expected this. He rolls away to reset the distance. Was that a martial skill? His eyes widen. These skills are this world's special technique, completely missing from Yggdrasil, basically a warrior's own magic. They drain concentration, which is basically mental focus. And the more a person uses it, the more mental exhaustion piles up. It is a mechanic completely absent from the game, grounding this world in reality. Here, martial arts are actually formidable, limited only by the natural level caps of humanity. Suddenly, a notification panel flickers into his view, detailing a brand new skill. Flowing water acceleration discovered, requires basic warrior class, conditions not met. A prompt asks if he wants to spend 1 skill point to learn it. Recognition flashes in his eyes, so this is exactly how skill points work here. Up on the platform, Gazef and Brian clash with growing, terrifying intensity. Martial arts light up the arena as the notifications keep piling up. Weakness perception discovered, requires a basic warrior type class which he lacks. But his genius talent activates, bypassing the requirements instantly. Learning conditions met, consume 1 skill point to acquire, the notifications keep flowing. Ability boost discovered, unmet requirements bypassed by genius talent, costs 1 skill point. Around him, the crowd erupts into deafening cheers with every single clash. People shout in awe. Gazef is incredible, easily living up to his reputation. To fight head-to-head against a genius swordsman like Brian is simply unbelievable. Their movements are too fast for normal spectators to even track. The once quiet arena has completely boiled over, and he feels a surge of excitement. But he is not watching the fight. His eyes are glued to the panel. Learning skills just by watching others and spending points is a game changer. He never expected this shortcut. Talk about a totally broken cheat code. He figured he would have to train painfully slow like the local natives. What really excites him is that his genius talent is even better than expected. But with only 3 skill points left, he has to choose very carefully. Every point is precious, and he cannot afford to waste them on useless skills. A new alert pops up, rapid/discovered, requires middle-tier class. Sword Master, conditions unmet, prerequisite class genius and warrior already owned. Consume 3 skill points to learn. His eyes narrow at the prompt. Middle-tier class Sword Master. He glances up toward the combat platform. That powerful technique belongs to Brian, who currently holds the upper hand. Brian has 3 classes: base warrior, fencer specialist, and mid-tier swordmaster. So this prompt stems directly from him, but something else catches his attention. It is not the swordmaster class itself, but a detail he overlooked. In Yggdrasil, you unlock classes first, but here, the rules are completely flipped. Locals master the skills first, meaning requirements are essentially flipped. Prerequisites do not exist here. Take the high-tier ninja class, for example. It requires level 60+ in Yggdrasil, but here it has no level limit. If someone simply masters the ninja skills, they gain the class automatically. Just like the ninja sisters in the adamantite rank adventurer group, Azure Rose. If he learns rapid/, now, could he indirectly unlock that middle-tier class? If this works, a completely new path of power-up options opens for him. It beats blindly handling random equipment to fish for class triggers. Gaining a class by learning its signature skill is far more efficient. It is highly precise, letting him shape his character builds exactly. Forget middle tiers, even high-tier classes might now be within his reach. Obtain. As for special classes, he merely shakes his head slightly. Forget those, because even high-tier classes among this new world's natives are rare as phoenix feathers. They are incredibly rare, special classes while sitting. The same tier are entirely different from base and middle tier. High-tier classes. In Yggdrasil, some classes are obtainable only by satisfying strict prerequisites. There is simply no way to cheat the system. In-game, every level 100 player picks up multiple high-tier classes, but most can only ever obtain one special class. That is how strict the conditions are. Sudden cheers snap him right back to reality. He looks down at the battle platform. Without his realizing, Brian's fast storm of offense drives Gazef into retreat step by step, and this matchup now looks like Brian is going to win. He holds his breath and watches closely, fully determined to see if the outcome of this match will play out as he remembers. Suddenly, Gazef wavers. He seems to stumble. Brian leaps a quick step forward, intent on ending it in that instant. In a flash, Brian freezes, then flies backward. As if hit by an invisible force slamming down, the arena goes silent. What occurred in that split second is something he cannot perceive at his current level, and likely almost no one in the crowd did either. But his eyes quickly drop back to check his own status panel. Skill. Fourfold slash of light discovered. Warrior type required. Conditions not met. Genius activated. Inversion successful. Consume 1 point. He relaxes. History has played out exactly as he knew it would. In this Imperial Tournament match, Gazef takes the final win with a skill he developed himself. The fourfold slash of light. After a brief silence, the venue erupts in cheers. They chant Gazef's name into the sky. He glances at the excited faces around him, exhales, and commands his system panel to learn rapid slash. He wants to test if class acquisition through a skill actually works. Plus, since the common class genius gives no attribute bonuses, he currently needs a combat class as well. The genius class conversion lets him absorb any margin of error for a middle-tier class. Learning rapid slash consumes 3 skill points. Mid-tier class sword saint successfully acquired. He looks at his Panel and WoW talk about hitting the ultimate jackpot here. As expected, he can use the New World's class acquisition method, the one distinct from the game, but he lowers his head slightly, his eyes flickering, acquiring the class directly without a prompt asking him to accept it. Combat class acquisition currently splits into two distinct methods. One, touch the weapons or equipment related to a class to acquire it. Pros, base classes are easy to get. Cons, middle and high tiers are hard to get this way. 2. Learn the skill by burning skill points and the class follows. Pros, a lot of room to maneuver. Given a target and skill points, the class is yours as long as you can get the opponent to display the skill. Cons, the class auto-attaches once the skill is learned with no opt-out. Caution is required, comparing the two since he already owns Genius. The first method is no longer particularly useful. He looks back at his panel. After picking up Sword Saint, his total level is now 2. And he has gained another 3 skill points. With leveling speed like this, no wonder players in the game ended up stacking 100 different job classes outright. Tang Yung marvels at the system, simply taking on different classes raises his level, bringing a fleeting thought to his normally steady mind. The pattern of 3 skill points per level remains unchanged. Theoretically, he could amass 300 skill points in total if he loses levels on death and relevels. Can he farm points repeatedly? Back in Overlord, that obviously was impossible, but in this new world, he still does not know if he can exploit a bug. He shakes his head, dismissing it. Not the time. While the prompts are still up, he spends another 2 skill points on instant reflex and fourfold slash of light. The last skill point stays in reserve, just in case his status panel updates. Attribute sheet. Player Tang Yung karma value is 0 neutral, HP 23, MP 13, and physical attack 23, all at 1%. Physical defense 13, agility 23, magic attack 13, magic defense 13. His resistance is 0, specialty 0, total 9.1%. Total level 2, experience 0 out of 100, base class Genius level 1. Warrior mid-tier class Sword Saint level 1, skill points 1, passive skills. Item box slashing damage 1%, active warrior skills instant reflex 4-fold. Slash of light rapid slash. Tang Yung scans the descriptions. Sword Saint mid-tier class using slashing weapons such as sabers, swords, axes, and claws can increase slashing damage by 1% per level up to 10% for each level. Gain the 3 attributes HP, physical attack, and agility increase by 10. Instant reflex has no cost, resetting the body back to the previous attack stance. Fourfold slash of light also has no cost, launching 4 slashes simultaneously. Attack power has a chance to disperse, reducing the hit rate. Rapid slash no cost. This class skill quickly launches a slash forward, dealing 110% damage on a 10-second cooldown. Only HP, attack, and agility. Then, different classes have unique stat tendencies, and a mid-tier class only gives a 10-point bonus per level, meaning base classes are likely much lower. Fortunately, his Genius class waives the typical base class requirement, but a mid-tier class actually carries a passive, granting up to 10% slashing damage. He rates this passive as completely average. The most surprising thing is the skills themselves. The difference between local martial skills and game class skills is unexpectedly clear. Rapid slash carries clear damage and cooldown values, while instant reflex and fourfold slash of light have only basic descriptions without numbers. No wonder the Bone King takes martial skills seriously. They are a completely different system from the warrior skills in Yggdrasil. In that game, warrior skills sat slightly outside the magic system. Most spells from magic chanters had no cooldown and only required mana, hence the saying that MP is the true lifeline of a magic chanter. High-tier magic and skills did sometimes carry cooldowns and prerequisites. Warrior-type skills did not need mana, which is why they had cooldowns, though certain special warrior skills required. Some MP or other restrictions, martial skills in this world consume concentration, but his panel does not show any concentration value, meaning that is something he will likely have to research on his own. Rustle, the people in. Suddenly, everyone stands up. The abrupt movement completely startles him. He notices a few nearby spectators glancing curiously at him as he remains seated. Clearing his throat, he quickly stands up with the crowd, blank face. He has not figured out the situation yet, but blending in seems safest. Perhaps he stood up far too fast. Suddenly, his body pitches forward. He grabs the shoulder of the person directly ahead just to steady himself. That man is a middle-aged, brown-haired stranger with a thick, fierce beard. Getting gripped so suddenly and with such heavy force makes the stranger furious. Believing it was a deliberate challenge, he glares back, fists clenching. The bearded man angrily demands to know if he has a problem. Wearing a quick, apologetic look, he pulls his hand back and blames carelessness. Glaring intensely, the brute clearly memorizes his face to pick a fight later. He frowns, and honestly, keeping a low profile here is nearly impossible. Random trouble finding him like this is the absolute last thing he wants. An unexpected spike in physical strength is the only reason he stumbled. His body is not used to it yet, making him clench his fists to feel the difference. The massive stat increase has registered inside his body in real time. Despite the sudden leap, it feels like he has been training for years. Looking up, his gaze passes over the crowd toward the empty arena below. While he was distracted checking his screen, Gazef and Brian had already departed. Everyone else is standing because the royalty in the tower left first. As commoners, they naturally have to stand and defer to the nobility. Realizing this, he simply stands with them, no need to draw attention. At least there are no boring speeches, these nobles just leave. Casting a slightly regretful glance, he looks back toward the towering VIP stand. Hoping to see the Golden Princess, he finds his view totally blocked. The standing lasts a full half-hour, making his lip twitch in annoyance. As the nobles file out, the quiet venue quickly turns incredibly noisy again. People are loudly gossiping about the duel, green with envy over the outcome. Both Gazef and Brian have been invited straight into the royal palace by the king. Meanwhile, the angry brown-haired man finally turns around with a clenched fist. Ready to unleash his fury, he searches for the black-haired kid. But the black-haired kid is gone, leaving the man to curse his luck. Empty threats are yelled at the wind while our hero slides away. Standing in the very outer ring, he waits. His turn is far off. It is impossible to know how long it will take for his turn to exit. 20 minutes slowly pass before he finally pushes through the gates. The spectacular duel was a massive eye-opener for the excited crowd. Their high spirits have not faded, and the noise only grows louder now. Catching a breath of fresh air in the streets was his only real goal. Instead, the outside is even worse. A massive crowd packs the gates. These are commoners who could not buy tickets but still crave the news. Both legendary fighters have massive fanbases, making this event historically huge. This is the very first tournament where 0 nobles reached the final round. 2 commoners claiming the championship match is a devastating blow to the elite. To nobles, this match is shameful, but commoners love it. Crimson Drop voices suddenly scream from the crowd in absolute excitement. Instantly, the dense crowd around him parts, clearing a wide path. The legendary Crimson Drop, his brow twitches as he looks up. He fixes his gaze on the leading figure. The man has semi-long blonde hair. There is a bold streak of red over his forehead, and he wears a black jacket. A red noble shirt matches his silver and black trousers, giving him a lazy, stylish look. His entire bearing radiates pure noble elegance as he waves his hand. The surrounding crowd goes wild, drawing loud, excited screams from the women. Definitely high profile, the name Azoth Andra surfaces in his head with sudden seriousness. He is Crimson Drop's captain, an absolute powerhouse of the kingdom. They operate in the Re-Estize kingdom, and he is a noble knight. He looks at the four other figures trailing behind him, who must be the rest of the team. One is a cold, middle-aged warrior in silver armor, a massive greatsword on his back. Another is a male magic caster, wearing a light blue robe with no staff visible. His heavy robes hide his build. Behind them walk two more men. One carries a longbow that gives off a faint, eerie gray shimmer. The other is shorter, wearing very ordinary clothes with no class weapon in sight. He has a faint presence. In this world, fading away is dangerous. In this world, the less someone stands out, the more deadly they actually are. He guesses he must be a thief, though he doesn't know the full lineup. Crimson Drop is mysterious in both anime and novels, with the rest rarely shown. Seeing them is a surprise, but he cares more about their leader. It's their captain. He doesn't know the exact levels of the rest, but guesses none have reached the hero realm of level 29 or above. The only real threat is Azoth Andra, though his personal strength is mediocre. Strictly speaking, he is the weakest, but he is their core. This team exists only because of him, completely ignoring his noble status. See, he actually possesses a level 51 power armor, which completely changes everything. That armor drags his weak personal strength straight up to top-tier human limits. This kind of technology is something local humans could never hope to manufacture. It is definitely player legacy, but he doesn't know from which era. Those 8 Desire Kings or the 13 heroes, only Azoth knows. Besides him, the only other power armor holder is the Platinum Dragon King, who commands a level 85 set and allegedly has even more hidden away. That Dragon King holds far too many secrets. Every true Dragon Lord is fully aware of the players from Yggdrasil. Make no mistake, the waters here run incredibly deep, and without Nazarick's power, Nazarick might have actually suffered several devastating, major setbacks of its own. Even the legendary leader of the 13 heroes, Riku, fell hard. The Platinum Dragon King extracted everything he knew about the players of secrets, then announced to the world that this 13 heroes captain had died young from the guilt of accidentally killing a close companion, refusing any resurrection, while the simple natives believe that tragic story. He knows exactly how players think, and refusing a revive makes zero sense. Resurrection a complete joke, the Platinum Dragon King is just a lying schemer. Crimson Drop marches past the cleared lane, followed by several other groups. These strong teams draw loud cheers. He had hoped to see more. Specifically the other Adamantitrank team, Azure Rose, but they are nowhere to be found. He does not recognize these groups. Still, their grand welcome suggests orichalcum or mithril status. Clearly, this upcoming duel has drawn in some serious powerhouses. It is time to leave. His next focus must be leveling up in class. Construction, he decides to withdraw his attention and head off, but as he turns, his gaze catches the final team trailing at the back, 4 members, 2 men and 2 women. The 2 leading women are instantly eye-catching. One wears heavy, full-plate armor, sporting long black hair, deep blue eyes, and a cold, beautiful face. The other has pink hair and wears cleric robes, but the supposedly sacred dress is split extremely high on both sides, exposing her dark boots and long, stocking-clad thighs. Most of the onlookers are openly staring. He immediately recognizes this specific team. If his memory serves, they go by the name 4 Weapons. He almost missed them. His gaze keeps drifting toward that pink-haired cleric, specifically her unusual outfit, and honestly, can you blame him? This world's fashion is seriously bizarre. It must be tied to the 6 great gods or the 8 greed kings. The player's influence on this world is quite obvious when it comes to clothing. In the future, this team will reach mithril rank, but they are not there yet. Seeing her with long black hair, he finally understands why he failed to recognize her. He looks closely at the cool, black-haired woman in armor. Eventually, her hair becomes white. And not for any magical reason, she simply dyes it, looking closely at the roots beneath the dark strands. A faint golden shimmer is visible. That is right. She is actually blonde. Since Re-Estize is overwhelmingly blonde, she dyed it black. To stand out and help build her team's fame, her future white hair is tied directly to the Bone King once he creates the Darkness team for intelligence gathering, and that squad reaches adamantite rank. 4 weapons has to chain their look, first to avoid taboos, and second because whenever someone says the word darkness, they immediately think of the Bone King, so she dyes it white. He genuinely doubts how much real talent they actually have to reach mithril rank, but surviving a clash with a Death Knight later on proves they have some real skill. Either way, neither the pink-haired cleric nor the blonde who loves hair dye is ordinary. As for the other 2 male members, he has absolutely no memory of them. Right then, a woman's panicked scream pierces through the noisy crowd, calling for Kaya. Due to the massive crowd gathering for the adventurers, everyone is packed incredibly tight. Suddenly, a little boy around 5 years old gets squeezed right out of the press. Stumbling directly into the path of 4 weapons, the kid loses his footing, hitting the hard pavement as his arm scrapes open, drawing blood, and he bursts into tears. The stinging pain in his arm is made worse by the sheer panic of being separated from his mother. This sudden accident instantly catches the sharp eye of Scamma, the cold-faced, dark-haired leader walking right at the front of the group. Talk about timing. For most adventurer teams, building that public reputation is everything. Scamma turns her head back with a calm, composed expression, preparing to ask the pink-haired Lilanet for assistance, but before she can even speak Lilanet, Lillian quickly takes the lead and steps forward. The long split hem of her white priestly robe sways with her strides, fair thighs and fishnet stockings are exposed to the crowd. A chorus of swallowing sounds rises around them. Lillian gently reassures the boy, saying she will take a look. She squats down with a gentle smile, raising her palm over the boy's bleeding arm, casting cure light wounds. Soft white light flows from her palm, and under its glow, the boy's wound closes instantly, his pain vanishing. The boy finally stops crying, tears still wet in his eyes as he looks up at Lillian, smiling down at him. He thanks her softly, then shrinks back, fear blooming on his face. He does not know why, but despite her smile, this big sister feels somehow terrifying. With a heavy clatter, leader Scamma in full plate walks over and bends down to look at the boy as if checking his injury. In reality, she is whispering fiercely at Lillian to put away that predatory look, warning her that she does not want their newly famous team plagued by ugly, creepy rumors because of her. Lillian sticks out her rosy tongue, licking saliva from the corner of her mouth, and whispers somewhat regretfully, "That unripe fruit is what truly makes her mouth water." The boy shrinks back. Again, he cannot understand the conversation between the 2 beautiful sisters, but he is now absolutely certain that they are very scary. Standing at the back, the other 2 male members of 4 weapons look at each other and sigh together. From within the crowd, a middle-aged woman shoves through and rushes over, only relaxing when she sees the boy is fine, bowing repeatedly with a face full of gratitude. Adventurer teams are not actually well regarded among the nobility, but they hold high prestige among commoners. Scamma and Lillian stand up at this point, their expressions resetting to their previous friendly states, waving their hands to say there is no need for thanks. Honestly, Tang Jun has zero interest in this little farce. The moment Lillian cast her magic, his status panel reacted. The skill cure light wounds, first tier. Discovered requirements: base class priestess or priest, rank 1 through 7. Conditions not met. Consume 1 skill point. Consume skill point priestess. Tang Jun looks at the prompt, feeling completely stunned, and an unusual light flickers in his eyes. Having no intention of continuing to watch the show, he turns and walks away quickly to find a quiet spot. To think, it is currently around noon, and the harsh sunlight beats down. Based on prior inquiries, it should be roughly May. yet the temperature feels like June or July of his previous life. The Great Tomb of Nazarick descends in this new world in about 4 years mid-July, so he has a little over 4 years. The timeline is undeniably tight, but he knows better than anyone not to rush his class build choices. The arena sits near the royal city at the foot of the hill, with plenty of vegetation and trees around, separating it from the dense commoner district outside. Seen from above, it must look like a green belt. He finds a shaded spot, sits down and pulls up the panel. Status sheet, player Tang. Jun overall rank 2, experience 0 of 100, base class genius rank 1. Fighter priestess priest, middle tier class sword master rank 1, skill. Point 0, passive skills item box, slashing damage boost 1%, active skills. Instant reflexes, a 4-fold slash of light, followed by a rapid slicing cut. Then first tier healing, it costs 5 mana, patching up his injuries. 10 health points restored, since he mastered it, his genius general class. Now lists priest and priestess as extra base classes he can convert into. But what really surprises and concerns him is that priestess base caster class. Just from the name, it is pretty obvious this class is strictly female exclusive. In Yggdrasil, subtle differences exist between priests and priestesses. Priestesses lean more toward magic casting, with high-tier advanced variations carrying huge healing bonuses, but that is not actually what he cares about. The fact his genius class lets him convert into female-only classes is completely unexpected. This is pretty wild. Does a female class mean a special character buff? Maybe one that lets him unlock specialized classes reserved strictly for female characters. Because that touches on special classes from the anime and novels he knows. There are several powerhouses, starting with the absolute beast that is the Bone Kings. Eclipse Cossidus's Usura, Shaltir's Valkyrie, and Mare's Apostle of Disaster. Then there's Demiurge's Origin of Evil and Victim's Martyr. Albedo also has one. Though its name remains a complete mystery, he knows exactly what it does. It grants her the cheat-like ability to transfer death to her armor 3 separate times. Combined with a resurrection item, you would literally have to kill her 4 times. Beyond those, there are extremely broken things like World Champion and World Disaster. But those are godly special classes he cannot even think about right now. Yggdrasil had plenty of special classes, but in this strange new world, he lacks the basic prerequisites to even begin searching for them in this world. He can only filter and choose from the few he remembers. He immediately excludes. Eclipse Origin of Evil and Martyr. Eclipse, the Bone King's ultimate class, has extremely clear requirements. Learn every single class in the necromancy tree and reach level 95 to obtain it. That requires a hyper-focused, extreme build, which is exactly why he scratches it off his list immediately. Even with the exact same setup, he would never stand a chance against the Bone King. And trust me, the guy is not alone. Floor Guardians have his back. Facing that kind of power with an extreme class build would be insanely easy to counter. Origin of Evil is completely out. That is a special class exclusive only to demons. Martyr is similar, being a specialized class restricted entirely to the angel race. But the other 3 options are much more flexible for him. Usura Valkyrie, Apostle of Disaster. His primary target is Apostle of Disaster. He knows Mare is a dark elf, which is a subhuman species with 0 racial classes. His entire build consists of 100 job classes, meaning there are no racial prerequisites. This means this special class has absolutely no racial requirements to unlock. Having solid details on Mare's build, combined with his own genius class margin, he might just be able to reverse engineer the Apostle of Disaster class, even if he has to waste a mid-tier class or 2 to get there. The remaining options, Usura and Valkyrie, present a much tougher puzzle. Looking closely at Cossidus's limited stat sheet, Usura shows no clear build path. He highly suspects that this special class relies on a unique item or tool. rather than being something you can just unlock naturally through leveling up. In both the anime and novels, only two people actually hold the Valkyrie class. Shaltir and Zeshi Zetsume, both female, hinting that Valkyrie is probably a female-only special class. Realizing this, he previously could only set his sights on Apostle of Disaster, but with Priestess now on his Genius option list, he has likely secured a powerful female character buff. This puts Valkyrie right back on his radar, fortunate since Shaltir's build is way simpler to analyze than Mare's Apostle of Disaster. He takes a deep breath, pictures everything he knows about Shaltir, and starts sketching with his finger in the dirt. Besides the Bone King, she is easily one of the two characters who show up most in the anime, meaning lots of info exists. Her build consists of 20 racial levels and 80 job levels, totaling 100. Her visible stats reveal Valkyrie Lance level 5, Cursed Knight level 5, and Priest level 10. The novels reveal 2 more classes: Blood Drinker and Cursed Caster. He is sure they are advanced options. Blood Drinker grants her the legendary skill Blood Pool, seen during her brutal clash with the Bone King. As for Cursed Caster, it reportedly comes with a dangerous side effect that forces Shaltir into a mindless frenzy whenever she actually contacts blood. When she first encounters the nail clipper and shreds those poor humans, she instantly goes berserk due to this curse, though the anime never names it. In Overlord, classes with massive drawbacks are usually insanely powerful, balancing high risk with top-tier output. So, looking at Valkyrie, Lance level 5, Cursed Knight level 5, Priest level 10, and Blood Drinker level 5. He has only accounted for 25 levels, leaving 55 completely unknown. It looks like a dead end, but he is a science student. He grins, feeling that familiar rush of energy from his past puzzle-solving days. He quickly reaches down to circle 2 of the classes written on the dirt. First, he sets the rare Valkyrie class aside. Next, Priest is just a base class requiring little thought. He also knows very little about Blood Drinker, so that gets benched too. The remaining advanced options should have their own separate paths. Time for basic math. By treating the unknown classes like variables, he can break this down. Unknown Base Warrior level 15, plus Unknown Mid-Tier Warrior level 10, plus Cursed Knight level 5 equals 30 levels. Then Unknown Base Caster level 15, plus Unknown Mid-Tier Caster level 10, plus Cursed Caster level 5 equals 30 levels. Add 60 levels to Valkyrie Lance level 5, plus Blood Drinker level 5 and Priest level 10, and we get 80 job levels. Shaltir's build is suddenly clear. The advanced class Blood Drinker is just an advanced option exclusive to vampires. Among these classes, the only real outlier is the base Priest class, but what about the other person wielding the Valkyrie class, Zeshi Zetsume of the Theocracy? Among top-tier fighters, Zeshi Zetsume is the only one with a completely known build: Fighter level 10, Barbarian level 10, and Master Fighter level 10, Lesser Valkyrie Almighty level 5, Weapon Master level 7, Rogue level 1, Assassin level 5, Executioner level 10, Inquisitor level 10, and Inquisitor level 10. With 11 classes totaling level 88, she sits comfortably at the absolute peak of this new world. But looking closely at her build reveals an exceptionally chaotic mess of choices. She mashed Warrior, Rogue, and Caster together. Seriously, talk about a wasted build. This makes her far weaker than other players. Her special Lesser Valkyrie class is essentially a degraded version of the real thing. This happened because Zeshi Zetsume simply does not meet the true requirements. That created an incomplete, highly flawed phenomenon. For instance, an advanced class like Ninja requires level 60 in the game. But in this mysterious new world, anyone can obtain it directly by simply mastering the required skills first. Special classes are a completely different beast. He figures Zeshi Zetsume secured her specific class indirectly through her unique talent. But because the actual class prerequisites are so incredibly strict, she could only obtain a degraded version. The only class she and Shaltir share is priest. As the theocracy's ultimate trump card, this makes perfect sense for Zeshi Zetsume to have it, but Shaltir is a literal undead vampire. Despite being an undead vampire, she possesses the Holy Priest class and never even maxed it. The only explanation for this is to fulfill a highly specific class condition. Suddenly, a sharp light flickers in his eyes as a realization washes over him. Excitement washes over his face. He presses his palm flat against the dirty ground. "Got you, Valkyrie," he whispers. The legendary Yggdrasil game is heavily based on Norse myth. But when it comes to Valkyries, there was no such concept in early mythology. Known as Valkyria, meaning choosers of the slain, they were originally linked with evil. Over time, they became holy women who chose fallen warriors to enter Valhalla. The legendary Hall of Valhalla has a deep connection to these Valkyries. Mythology aside, the requirements for the class are likely a female character, plus the base class of priest and the advanced class of cursed knight. Why cursed knight instead of caster? Because Valkyrie is a combat-focused warrior class. It is not designed for pure magic users. He brushes the thick dust off, his hands exhaling heavily as he uses his foot to wipe away the handsy characters. He traced in the dirt. No one here can read Chinese, but caution pays off. Based on the game rules, the advanced Cursed Knight class normally requires level 60, plus a highly specific class build to unlock the option in the first place. However, under this world's lenient class system, a person can bypass that. You can acquire an advanced class directly just by learning its high-tier skills. He pushes off his knees to stand, brushing off his pants with a smile. If his memory serves him right, someone in the Baharuth Empire actually holds it. That exact Cursed Knight class, now he gets it. He is still not 100% certain, but there is finally a real path. To try making him feel a bit more at ease, that target in Baharuth is not going anywhere. First, he needs to level up, then make his move. To acquire Cursed Knight, with a clear target, he heads straight for the guild. For any standard player, the primary goal is always slaying high-level monsters. But this is a very real other world, when you are weak and vulnerable. Staying alive is the only priority when a person is low-level and fragile. The Grand Imperial Tournament has finally come to an end. He has to leave. He holds 0 official status in the royal capital right now. Ever since the Gazef and Brian duel, there are no strict security inspections being run. But once things go back to normal, a complete outsider like him will easily stand out. Plus, there are no good hunting spots here for him to level up. For his next move, he decides to head toward Yggdrasil, a major border city of Re-Estize. However, he still knows way too little about this world to make the trip alone. Traveling solo is just asking for trouble, so he makes his way to the local Adventurers Guild, hoping to hook up with a party traveling toward Yggdrasil. In the capital, aside from the fancy noble estates right in the center, the only prominent, large buildings are the Adventurers Guild and the Magic Casters Guild, which are both tucked away in the Commoner District. So finding the Adventurers Guild is a breeze. Their poor locations prove that the kingdom's elite do not value them at all. And honestly, the difference between these two kingdoms is night and day. Baharuth highly values magic casters, whereas Re-Estize glorifies traditional physical warriors. The main reason these two nations are so completely different is one powerful man. Fluder Paradine of Baharuth, their chief court wizard and greatest trump card. He is an absolute monster who surpassed the realm of heroes, one of humanity's 4 greatest outliers. He has lived for over 260 years, advising every ruler of the empire. He served from their very first founding emperor all the way to the current Blood Emperor. Naturally, that level of insane influence tilts the entire nation toward magic. He recalls that Fluder actually holds the high-tier immortal class. achieving his incredible longevity through a magic ritual. He notes this for later. When he eventually visits Baharuth, he will definitely need to plan around that rare class. Arriving at the Outer Commoner District, the Adventurers Guild stands out immediately. It is a massive, 4-story square tower with people constantly streaming through the doors. He hesitates for just a moment, pausing before stepping through the busy entrance. Instantly, a loud, bustling wave of noise hits him. The guild hall is surprisingly huge. Even with so many adventurers around, the lack of clutter keeps it spacious. There is no fancy furniture or pointless decor, just plain wooden floors and a high ceiling. A massive chandelier hangs above, facing a large reception desk. Several busy staff members are actively helping various groups of adventurers behind the counter. As he walks through, a few quick glances flick toward him before immediately looking away. He easily guesses why, dressed in such cheap, worn-out clothes, he looks completely harmless. Looking like a broke traveler rather than a wealthy client, nobody spares him a second glance. This was his plan all along, dressing down to avoid drawing any unwanted attention. A loud buzz of voices drifts from the large request boards lining the walls. Adventurer parties are actively debating their options. How about this specific request? The payout is too low since the guild takes a 20% cut of the split. Once split, there is barely anything left, so they look for a better option. But some jobs are strictly locked to elite gold rank parties, which they cannot join. Others argue the danger is low on escort missions, despite the incredibly long route. Even if the rank payout is lower, stacking it with current jobs could get them promoted. Getting to gold rank is all that matters. He quietly walks toward the counter. With several groups waiting ahead of him, he quietly joins the queue and observes. Looking around, he runs through everything he knows about adventurers. The guild ranks parties into 8 tiers: copper, iron, silver, gold, platinum. Mithril, orichalcum, and adamantite. There is no clear strength threshold. That is because every new party starts at copper, regardless of skill. Of course, as long as they are not deliberately hiding their true strength or refusing promotions, a party's rank eventually reflects their actual level. He does not wait long at all. Soon, it is his turn. The young receptionist standing in front of him has slightly curly brown hair and eyes looking around 16 or 17, just like him. She greets him politely, showing zero surprise at his strange clothes or foreign features, asking for his party name. He quietly admits he does not have one, but just has a question. Assuming she understands, she quickly bends down to reach under the counter, pulling out a rough, yellowed paper form, offering to help him register. He waves his hand, explaining that he does not plan on registering at all. He only wants to know if any merchant caravans or adventurer parties are heading to Yggdrasil. Her pen instantly pauses. She looks him over once more, noticing the short sword and leather waterskin hanging at his waist. As a flash of recognition crosses her eyes, she asks if he came for the Imperial Tournament, if he traveled from a border city, calling his solo journey quite impressive, while filling in the blanks of his situation in her own mind. She extends a slightly rough palm, holding it open right in front of him. 5 copper coins, she requests. He repeats the words, completely stunned. If he could read the local script, he would not even need to ask. But he cannot. Despite 10 years of education in his past life, he is still completely illiterate here. She squeezes her face into a very serious expression, informing him that this is the Adventurers Guild, where non-members must pay for any consultation. There is simply no such thing as a free favor here. As a massive organization spanning across multiple borders and completely free from any single nation, their true power does not just lie in mighty rank adventurers. It is about the invisible web of intelligence they keep through their massive membership. If an outsider wants a piece of that, they pay. After all, some secrets are far too valuable for gold.